Hello and welcome to another episode of GrangeTV. We are doing our post-fight thoughts for UFC 253. I'm here with Eli and David Roberts, Soul Air. Thank you guys for joining us. It's just going to be a quick one. We're just going to talk about what we saw in the fights, what we thought, which ones were our favorite fights. Please feel free to comment what we thought of people's performances and I guess what's next for that said person. Now, we're not going to necessarily cover every fight. Not every single fight was in our heads or it's going to stay in our heads the way that some of these more memorable fights did. But I don't know, Eli, let's go.
Just probably off the bat, my favorite fight was the flyweight fight with Kai and Brendan. That first round, as you would have seen if you watched us watching it, we got very excited because it was really action-packed. So I really enjoyed that fight. I think at first I thought Brendan looked a little bit, not clumsy, but rushing a little bit and getting off balance. And Kai looked like he had the power, more of the power and that. But Brendan did a really good job of mixed up strikes, throwing them from really awkward spots and then capitalize on a takedown and with the guillotine.
I thought Kai looked really good.
Yep.
I thought he landed some big power shots and really wobbled Brendan. But Brendan, X factor, you know what I mean? Like spinning shots, his jiu-jitsu's off the hook.
Off his back. Omoplata to gogoplata and then back into omoplata. And I still think he held the glove there in that one. And which helped him get the sweep, but that didn't determine the outcome, I guess. But I don't know, really exciting fight. And I think he's got a big future in front of him.
What's next for him?
Oh, in that flyweight division, there's so much talent in there. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not too sure. Does that push him up I think that will push him up into the top 15. I think.
No. He's like ranked 9th because Kai was ranked 7th.
Was he? I thought Kai was ranked 15th.
Nah, it was. Then he won a fight.
Okay. So he was ranked 7th. So top 5.
You think, how do you see his skill set ready for top 5 titles, et cetera,
I think there's some things, and we mentioned it in the fight. You really mentioned talked about it with his distancing. He sort of, I feel he can stay back and use that range a little bit more instead of rushing in, which you can get a little bit excited and think, do you know what I mean? As you're going forward with punches, you need to keep going forward. If you haven't backed up against the cage, just need to keep your distance, be a little bit patient and pick your punches and your shots. I think if he could do that a little bit more, then that's going to benefit him in them top 5 fights.
Yeah, that's the one. It was a little bit of a criticism was that, like he's kind of taken himself into range, and I felt that was probably something he didn't need to do. He looked fantastic though, and Kai Kara-France is not an easy out for anyone. So I like that. That was a great fight. What's next for Kai?
I guess go back to the drawing board. Obviously, he's had a good. Do you know what I mean? He's had 6-7 fights in the UFC now.
He's had a whole bunch of wins too.
Yeah. So I still think there's. Do you know what I mean? There's still plenty of fights there for him. That might drop him out of the top 10. Hopefully, he can get another top 10 opponent and get back up there. But it's a setback. But it happens in fighting, eh?
Yeah, no, I thought he fought well too.
Yeah,
like he just that style of someone being so overwhelming, doing all the stuff that they did. I'm not saying that Kai was overwhelmed, but I'm saying it's an overwhelming style to have someone jumping, throwing kicks, doing. You can't train like that for that in outside of a real setting. So I think Kai's right in there. I don't think his stock has dropped at all. Yep. You know what I mean? I'd watch him fight any day. Juan Espino for me, he put on a very, very good performance. Just too big, too strong, really good grappler. I'm really looking forward to watching him climb the ranks, to be honest. Yep. So I'm really, really, really excited.
Just curious, what is Juan's age?
40.
40. All right. So he is up there, but again, the heavyweights, they can hold that age a little bit better.
Oh, that's
what
I want to see.
Rely on their power and not so much their reaction time.
I want to see him top 15 guy.
Yep.
I want to see him. He's got experience. He's got a lot of experience. He's had this fight now. He's got some momentum. Let's see it.
Yep. All right.
What's next?
The next one was, I guess, Dominic Reyes and Jan. That was, I can't pronounce his last name, sorry. So I'll just stick with Jan.
I think it's
Blachowicz.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, Jan, that was interesting because I thought Dominic Reyes was going to be too much for him. I thought with them
Too
straight
slick.
punches, I thought he was going to be too smooth, keep it nice and straight. Why I thought Jan would have to go in and close that distance and look for them. We talked about it, them sort of thumping punches. Why I thought Reyes would be able to stay on the outside, go down the pipe with that left hand, keep him nice and straight and be able to outstrike him. But it wasn't the case. Wasn't the case at all.
What do you think was the key? Why do you think Jan beat Reyes?
I think Reyes couldn't get off his fight.
Why?
Jan did a really good job of sort of closing that distance and throwing some. He just powered forward and just imposed his will a little bit. It is very big and strong, and I think I don't know. Reyes just couldn't get off his jab, and then obviously that body. He went to that body a couple of times on the right hand side of Reyes, and that must have affected him because that left hand wasn't coming out. Do you know what I mean? It was bruised up really bad. So I don't know. I just feel like it was Jan's night. He just powered forward. It didn't look like he was bothered by anything that Reyes was doing. And his game plan just came off perfect. He looked really strong, and he always went with that lead right hand, fighting the southpaw. So he went that lead right hand, left hook, right hand, and then he would go that kick after the right hand. So
and it created that false distance when he threw that lead right hand because he basically kind of fall into a southpaw stance almost and gives him that extra distance to throw that left kick. And I think that's something that they must have worked on in training a lot and specifically for Dom because he was able to land it like bang, 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 bang. And you saw the bruising that's just above the liver, but the liver's a very big organ as well.
Yep.
And all of those solid organs like the liver, the kidneys, they bruise. So that bruising, it hurts. It hurts immensely, you know, intercostal muscles as well. It's very hard to breathe. So even if it didn't hurt Reyes, which it looks like it did, you'd still be very aware of it and it starts to change your plan. I think that Jan came in extremely prepared for Dom.
Yep.
Not training with different guys, but prepared for Dom. And in the main event, what did you think?
It sort of went, I guess, how we predicted it would go. Israel was just way too smooth. Costa couldn't get off anything that he wanted. He couldn't close any distance. He couldn't. And I feel like he was just, I don't know, he was being a bit of a goose in there. Do you mean carrying on with some of the taunting and stuff like that?
Theatrics.
Yeah, and Israel was just, it was on his game. Do you know what I mean? His distancing was perfect. He kept, do you know what I mean, going to that outside. That leg kick was obviously hurting Costa a lot. He looked very flat-footed, Costa, and just, I wasn't too sure because I thought at one stage like he's going to try to put that pressure on and blitz and that. Maybe he was saving it for the later rounds, but you can't, he wasn't going to win the fight doing what he was doing anyway. So, a good stoppage by Israel. Man, I don't know. He's looking really good, Israel. He's looking really good and he's starting to get some wins. I think that's 9 in a row in the middleweight.
Yep.
So it's the second highest under Anderson Silva, which I think is sitting around 13.
Yep.
So he's really, you know what I mean? He's on a win streak. He's full of confidence. He's very, very marketable. Do you know what I mean, for the UFC and that, because he's vocal and he says what he thinks and that. So I don't know. In my opinion, his next challenge will be Rob after Rob gets through Cannonier, but we'll talk about that.
Just hold that thought for 1 second. Because the thing I was going to say with Israel, it looked to me like Israel, again, like what I said about Jan, it looked like Israel prepared specifically for Costa. But it looks to me like, and I think it's something that happens in this part of the world as well, just because we don't have the huge amounts of numbers like that sometimes other people do. And so you prepare your fighter to fight his best game.
Yep.
Whereas I think with Costa, they brought in a whole bunch of guys to mimic Israel, which has its merits. But the whole time I was watching it, no disrespect to any of the guys, but I was thinking, man, none of these guys are Israel, though.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to show you Israel's looks. And I think it's great to have a long body, a tall guy that will help you to get used to that length and that distance. But it's the way that you use that length and that distance that Israel is a master at, and these guys won't be able to do. And I feel that there were things that Costa could have done, as in, like, what am I going to do in the fight? Like, I think that Israel was getting outside of that lead leg and just chopping those calves. And he knew he was going to do that. You know what I mean? He knew, like Israel knew he was going to do that. That's something that he'd worked on. And I feel that Costa from the get-go went in reactive to him. And I just don't think that he has the ability to close those skill gaps against Israel. I see Israel's an elite of the elite of the elite of kickboxers.
Yeah. And
Costa's a very, very good kickboxer. But that difference is huge.
Yeah.
You know, especially when you have the physical attributes that Israel has. So now my next question is, you think it's going to be Rob if Rob gets through Cannonier, or Cannonier if Cannonier gets through Rob? I'm going to assume and hope that Rob gets through Cannonier. Having said that, what do you think of Israel going up and fighting Jan for the light heavyweight belt?
Oh, I still think there's challenges there in the middleweight division for him. I don't think it's a big attraction going and fighting Jan. I think Jan's sort of flown under the radar. I don't feel like it would be a money fight. I don't think he'd be too interested in that. But saying that, without having John Jones there, it could be a really good opportunity for him to stake a claim of being
an easy win against Jan.
Not an easy win, because Jan
Jan's a fucking monster.
Yeah, well, that's the thing as well. I think Israel, with his reach and that, wouldn't have that same advantage on Jan. Jan is a huge man. Do you know what I mean? And I feel he wouldn't have them advantages that he has at middleweight. I'm not too sure if it's even an option or if he's spoken about it. I know he has spoken about fighting John Jones at light heavyweight, but I feel like that John Jones fight had more that money stigma and that around it and everything, that attraction to that. Him going up and fighting Jan, I don't know if that's, again, what is he after? Is he after the legacy of having 2 belts and following that same way, or does he want to wipe out the whole division in middleweight yet? Because I still feel like he hasn't wiped out everyone. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's still some super good contenders there. Yeah, he's beaten the best of the best, but I still feel, do you know what I mean, there's still good contenders. There's still good fights to have in the middleweight, including a rematch with Robert Whittaker.
I would like to see, I'm really curious who's going to win out of Hermanson and Darren Till. And if Hermanson gets through Darren Till, and that's a big if, I'd like to see him and Israel.
Yeah.
Hermanson and Israel. I think Hermanson's the one guy in that division. Although Rob's a very good wrestler, he's the one guy that goes wrestling or bust.
Yep.
In that division. And Romero's not that guy anymore.
No.
And he's the guy that's going to go, but I'm not saying that that's going to beat Israel, because Israel's very good and he's very hard to take down. But that's the one guy that goes, we're going to the ground, and everyone knows it, you know? And if he gets you on the ground, he's very confident. He took Jacare down, ground and pounded Jacare.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No joke at all. So I'd like to see that fight. I'm really interested to see someone like Hermanson fighting Israel. I still, the favorite would be Israel to me. I'm just curious also if he's going to go up and fight at light heavyweight.
So you think it would be an option? And if it was the option, how do you think he would go against someone like Jan?
I think the fluidity of his striking it's hard to counter, dude. It's hard to beat. And Jan doesn't have that fluidity. Having said that, though, it's interesting when you take away a lot of the physical attributes that Israel has. I'd definitely pay to watch that, because you do take away a lot of the length.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You do take away a lot. And with that length comes a lot of taking away that length takes away a lot of the leverage. With the leverage that he enjoys in that division, it creates a lot of strength for him. People think he's weak. He's not weak. People think he's skinny. He's not skinny, man. You know, and he's very, very, very strong. He's got very, very, very good levers. That advantage will cease somewhat in the bigger divisions. You know, so I'm interested in that. So previewing the next UFC, the main card, Gaethje versus Nurmagomedov.
Yep. It's a tough one, eh? Khabib's just pretty much been able to, do you know what I mean, impose his will on everyone he's fought so far. But again, Gaethje's a different type of fighter. Again, he's got power, do you know what I mean, in that division, which I don't think other people have had. Connor's had power, but then he doesn't have the wrestling. Do you know what I mean? So if Gaethje can nullify the wrestling with his wrestling, and impose that power with the striking, I think he could get the win. What about yourself?
Same. I don't know. He could stop but even then, I don't know that he has a better striking than Khabib.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? I don't know that he necessarily has a better striking. And I don't know if he can't get him out of there in the first 2 rounds, what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I do see that. I think, like I said, I think Gaethje's got such an X factor with his power. But see, I see Khabib beating a lot of the guys in that division, but Gaethje being a hard challenge just because of the X factor. But I don't see Gaethje beating Daniel Hooker.
Yep, true.
I don't see Gaethje beating Conor.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I see a struggle there with those guys, but I don't see Conor beating Khabib short of just hitting him with the left hand.
Yeah.
Not outfighting him. I see Dan Hooker being able to really produce a good fight for Khabib and maybe beat him, but I don't see Gaethje beating either one of those guys.
Yep. But you see him
giving Khabib a challenge, just an X factor challenge. I'd definitely say Khabib would have to be the favorite. And then we have, which affects this division, is Cannonier versus Rob. What do you think?
Hold
on, is that the co-main now? Because
so I thought it was the girls, was it?
It was the co-main, then it wasn't because Ferguson and Poirier were going to fight.
Oh yeah,
now they're not going to fight.
So they're back to co-main.
Are they? I don't know.
When the fights came up before, they were sitting in the co-main event.
Right now they're co-main event.
Okay, well let's talk about the co-main.
Yeah.
Cannonier, an absolute beast. You know what I mean? A monster of a man. But I feel. Yeah, we spoke about it before. Rob will be too fast, too slick. I think he'd be able to stay on the outside, counter strike him. I don't think. Do you know what I mean? I just think Rob will win. Obviously, I'm going to be a bit biased, but unless Cannonier catches him with something, but obviously, do you know what I mean? Rob and that they're going to be onto that. They're going to be watching film. They're going to, do you know what I mean? Making sure they're going over all them little points, and I think he would just be too smooth for him, too fast.
I think first thing that's going to have to happen is who's going to establish the kicking game. And I think that Rob will have the advantage there. Just a little bit quicker, a little bit smoother, but that's going to be the thing that determines a lot of it as well. And I can't go into too much why, just because I know Rob too well and I don't want to give anything away, not just for this fight, but for other fights that are out there. But I think it'll be that. And then once Rob can start blitzing, people don't understand how quick he blitzes and how quick he gets in. So he will be able to get in, and it'll be a question of, can he get in and knock Cannonier out or take him down? Or can Cannonier catch him when Rob comes in? The problem is when you sit there trying to react to Rob coming in, it's very hard because he blitzes in too quick. Plus Israel was able to do it because Israel's very good. He's a very good striker, and he's able to lean back, and he had that thing. But there was inches in that, inches in Rob's shots when he would blitz in. I see Rob finishing Cannonier inside 3 rounds, like by the second round, either by ground and pound or just dropping him,
Yep.
But and that's not me. I'm not being disrespectful to Cannonier. I think Cannonier is truly a monster dude as well. The other thing that I don't think Cannonier will enjoy over Rob is the physicality that he kind of enjoys over other people.
Yep.
He's just overall physical presence and raw physical strength. He won't be able to, he will not muscle Rob. I know that for sure. He won't be able to.
Yep.
I think Rob's probably up there with the strongest guys, physically strongest guys in the division. Again, people don't understand how strong he is. He's very physically strong. I think Cannonier is a little bit, just a tad slower than Rob, and Rob's like a bit of a younger version of him. But I will say this is an advantage for Cannonier. Cannonier being a little bit older, having that bit more life experience, and he's able to have kept his body together by not having heaps and heaps of fights, is going to be an advantage for him, I think. He's not going to be able to walk through the jabs and the strikes like he thinks he might be able to against other fighters. He won't be able to do that with Rob.
So then that will make, if Rob wins that fight, which we're both hoping he does, then that will.
It's not a foregone conclusion, by the way. I'm not writing Cannonier off.
But then that would, you would think, equal the rematch for Israel.
If Rob gets through Cannonier, he has beaten Darren Till and Cannonier. It's him and Israel.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I can't imagine Hermanson lost to Cannonier.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? He beat Gastelum. Isn't that shit, eh? That's always, because Gastelum's lost like 3 in a row, but he lost to Hermanson, to Till in a close decision, and he lost to Israel. You know, that's nothing to be ashamed of. You know what I mean? So you got a guy like Gastelum's lost 3 in a row. But hey, having said that, if Hermanson wins, he just beat Gastelum and he just beat Till. So, you know, it's out of maybe Robin Hermanson. I don't know. But then who fights Israel?
Yeah. No, I think it would.
It has to be Rob.
Yeah. Be marketable in that as well.
My opinion.
Rematch.
Yeah.
No, for sure. I think that would be the next sensible fight.
All right.
And what about Jan? What next for Jan if he doesn't fight Israel? Thiago
Santos. I don't think he will fight Israel next, but yeah, Thiago for sure.
That will be a good fight.
That's going to be like phone booth.
Yeah.
I want to see that.
Yep.
All right. Well, no, that was all just our thoughts on UFC 253. And we're just talking about the main fights coming up that we're interested in. Thank you so much, guys, and take care.